All right.
We back.
We're back, dude. We're back. So
What's the word?
such a good question. That's actually a good way to open it up. What is the word?
We're talking lowlights, we said, right?
Yeah.
Lowlights?
What do
Who
you
wants to
think?
kick off the lowlights?
I mean,
Well, let's do this. Why don't you share with us what a low light means?
Oh, yeah. Run it. Let's break it down.
Yeah. Break down what a low light is.
Give a little meat. I'll comment too after you go.
I think a low light is, and somebody just I guess relayed this term to me yesterday. You're in a down season, right? Life's very cyclical.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be perfect. You're not always going to be in a position of where everything's hitting on all cylinders, right? So for me, a low light is a certain event that you're going through where you're being challenged emotionally, mentally, physically, literally, but hopefully not spiritually, hopefully not spiritually, because I feel
That
like
part.
the spirituality part is what kind of keeps you grounded. So for me, a low light is you're kind of going through it's almost like a life shower. You got dirt on you and you're like scrubbing it all off, and you really got to scratch hard to kind of get yourself clean. So yeah, where it almost feels like during a low light, your body's like fighting against you, right? And I'm saying that emotionally too, where you want to feel a certain type of way, but you don't, right? You want to be somewhere else other than where you're at, right? Because when you're like in this, we'll go like switch over the term to like a highlight, right? Where you're in an up season, you want to be there.
Yeah.
You want this to last forever. Like you want it to be. So I think a low light is being in a spot where you're kind of having resistance to kind of being where you're currently at.
And bro, I just want to talk about the importance of sharing the lowlights. Because social media is a fucking highlight reel, right? We know this.
Yeah.
So not on like the importance of sharing the lowlights and then sharing it with your friends, right? Like having conversations around like what you're really feeling, what's really going on. Because think about it, we always ask the question like, "Oh, how are you? Good." The gut response is good, but you're really good, like for real. So I just think it's important to like talk about the lowlights because they're what make us who we really are. TBH.
Yeah, I think when and I'm sure you guys have heard this a ton. Like being vulnerable builds connection, and I think that's how people connect with one another.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that like we're framing it as a low light, low, and then the light, because I think that it's we in the low lights, like we appreciate the highlights a little bit more,
And there's still light.
Correct.
It's in the word,
Still
to
light.
the phrase.
It's still
There's
light.
still
Yeah,
light.
it's still light, and it's unrealistic to believe that like everything's gonna be a highlight and that we're always gonna be happy and they're always gonna be like joyful and thriving. I think that we appreciate life so much more when you're going through those peaks and valleys, because it's never ending, right?
Yeah. I mean, at the whole cycle of it going up and down is never ending, and I remember being in a position where everything's clicking. I feel like I'm riding on like this high.
Just earlier this year for you,
Just
bro.
earlier this year, right? Just earlier this year, like this whole first half was that.
You gave yourself like straight A's.
Oh my God. And if even now, if I were to grade myself, right, of how I'm handling the low light, at first I was struggling. Like I really was, right? It's just because your bandwidth is completely just taken up by this one thing that at one point didn't even exist, right? But even grading if I were to grade that, now, because it's like I still pushed, I still did whatever I could, I still focused on the rehab of like this back injury that I'm kind of experiencing, and I allowed myself to breathe, to slow down.
Do you mind sharing a specific example, like maybe on a day-to-day, of how it's impacting, like your back injury is impacting physically and mentally, like kind of how you're approaching the day, like a specific example of how we could identify and really like understand like the struggle?
Yeah, I almost see it like a battery, right? Like the back for me was, what currently still is I would rest a certain amount of time, and I knew the minute I was walking or going to run an errand, I had a finite amount of time, like this small window, before I had a flare up.
Wow.
Right? So it wasn't like I'm up, I'm gonna take on the day, and I only lay down because I'm just tired, right?
Wow.
Right? Everything became windows. I'm up, I got 30 minutes to go do whatever I gotta do, otherwise I'm gonna be in pain.
Wow.
Right? So I would go run the dogs, I would come back, and I would have to lay down again. I gotta make some food. Okay. I'll time it, boom, get up, cook the food. And even as I'm cooking, sometimes that 30-minute window wouldn't even last. It would be 20, 15 at the beginning, 10 minutes.
Wow.
Right? And my thing was just, I'm trying to expand that window. I want to go from 30 to 31, 31, 32. And it became that. It became just, my life became nothing but windows. People would want to go hang out. Hey, let's go do this. Like, I want to, bro, but I got to use my bag for this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, and I was using my bag for the essentials.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I live in an apartment. Like, I have two dogs, right? 2 pits. Like, they need to be out.
Yeah.
So for me, my priority was that. My priority was making myself food. My priority was showering.
How did it make you feel when it would that battery would run out and you would have to recharge again?
Oh my God, man. It irritates you.
Yeah.
It irritates you because it almost felt like I was in a prison in my own body.
Fuck.
And it really put me in a position of understanding, number one, the body's extremely fragile, right? Like extremely fragile. And also like, we have people who are older, right, in our lives, grandparents, tias, and they're going through things like this.
Yeah.
And their life is that constant pain. And it's just like in the background. It's just kind of buzzing in the back. And I'm over here feeling this for like going on 2 months. And they probably have been experiencing it for years.
Yeah.
And that allows me to like give them more grace. Because there's times where I'm like, yeah, my dad will be like, oh, me duele la cadera. Like my hip hurts. I can't really. What do you mean? Just
Like, nah,
Yeah,
let's
let's go.
good.
Yeah.
Like,
bro, my hip hurts. Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna get up. Like, no, man. Like, there's times like I want to do things and I just can't. And I tried my best to not be, what's the word I'm looking for? To be like discouraged. To be discouraged by what I wasn't capable of doing. I didn't want to compare what I was feeling right now to how I felt before the injury. Because I was on a high before the injury. And comparing that to like where I'm at now, then it's like you start feeling like, oh, I just want to get back to my place. Whereas now I compare where I feel now as opposed to the first day the injury was completely bad.
I bet.
Now I'm like, I'm not trying to compare it to where I was before. I'm trying to compare it to how did I feel at my worst with this injury? Okay, I progressed since then.
2 quick things. I think there's a lesson there in like, kind of like chasing the high. You were on a high earlier this year, and I know I've been there where it's like you just want to get back to that feeling, right? And like chasing that feeling like makes you ultimately not present, and then you start fucking up this moment now too, right? So,
Yeah.
But what I want to ask, potentially tough question.
Yeah.
I'm feeling called to ask it. Do we think that the rate we were flying at in the first half when we were reviving had anything to do with like the back injury? Did because yes, we were flying high, we gave ourselves straight A's, but were we driving a little too fast? Maybe like, do you or no? You think they're unrelated?
Completely related.
Okay.
I mean, I seem to think so. Prior to this, to like me experiencing this, I was working, I want to say 14 to 16 hours out of the day, right? I was working out. I take care of a special needs child. I was with him. I was training clients in the morning, early mornings from 6 a.m. to about 10 a.m. and then start back up again from like 6 p.m. to sometimes even to 10 p.m., right? And then all that, you add up the eating food, taking care of the dogs, going to see your parents. Like I was just always going, right? And I'm sure that had a lot to do with pushing my body to a limit that it probably just couldn't tolerate. And then if we tie in spirituality to it, it's very hard for me to rest. I find value in just doing things.
Yeah.
Right? Just doing shit. Like if I'm not doing something, like I guess I'll take an off day. Right? The only times prior to this that I was able to rest was when I was sick. So I think this is God telling me like chill out.
Yeah.
Like chill out. Like you need to chill, you need to relax, you need to take care of yourself. Find out who you are outside of the things you thought provided you your only identity, right? Which is consistently working, right? We talk about like the grind, like work ethic, the grind mindset, like it gets you somewhere, yes, but it also burns you out to the point where now you're not really doing much, you know? But
and so how are we thinking about the future, right? Like, again, you were doing work you were fucking with, right? Like you loved everything you were doing, right? Whether it was creating with Nene and Rita and with us and training people, doing something you love, editing. Like, I mean, you spent hours editing, bro.
Yeah.
So like, again, it's all work you fucked with and love, and you were expressing your gifts and using your gifts and talents. But ultimately, you kind of did crash, ran into a little bump.
Yeah.
How are we thinking about the future? Like, how are we thinking of like balancing and resting and like, what are you thinking about when you're more healed and you can get back to like a more normal rhythm? What might that look like?
And that's a good question. That really is a good question. We had talked about this before, where when you're sick, all you can think about is getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just been the last 2 weeks that I'm finally having enough bandwidth to think about that.
Okay. Nice.
At first, it's like,
Nice.
I can't think about it.
Gotta get through the day. The next 20 minutes.
I just got to get through the next window.
Yeah.
I got to get to the next window. So now to be in that position, now to have that bandwidth, I've sat with that lightly, and I'll try to give whatever response that I can probably give now, as much detail as I possibly can. But I think for me is choosing what priorities I want in regards to like the bigger picture, right? And it's crazy because a lot of things that I do I see them as selfless acts, right? I don't do a lot of selfish things in the sense of like, oh, I'm gonna go buy this car, I'm gonna go do this thing. Like it's a lot of it is tailored around making sure I'm helping other people. But I think there has to be a little bit of selfishness in order to be more selfless, right? At least be more efficiently selfless. So I think it's dialing back on the number of clients that I'm working with, and just kind of allowing myself a couple of hours of just buffering.
Fuck yeah.
Just kind of like loafing around and just laying down, like watching. I don't watch TV all that much now. I am because I'm forcefully at home, but allowing myself just to kind of like recharge, but using that time to kind of spend time with family. Like now I'm calling my mom a lot more. Like I'm chopping it up with her. But I think it's that. I think it's really probably sitting down and figuring out where I want my life to be, and also like the next 5 years, but specifically like the next 2 years, and making sure that I build a plan that gets me there without having setbacks like this, So
something that resonates is, it's like that metaphor of, when you're in the plane and they're like, in an emergency, you
put
take
yours
care,
on first.
Put yourself on
your
first,
oxygen mask on first,
because it does no service if you're down. You speak very highly of the value that you love to bring to people and how you like to service the people around you.
Yeah.
But if you don't take care of yourself, or if we don't take care of ourselves, like you can't help anyone else if you can't help yourself. So you have to kind of like prioritize yourself first. Make sure you're good and you're at your best. And then that way you'll be able to kind of like help everyone around you. So it's really important to give ourselves that space. Another thing that I'm sitting with is, I think we run so quick often that we take for granted the importance of slowing down. And there's a lot of value in that.
Here.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Is that
I
what
need
it
that
said?
reminder always, dog.
Oh my God.
Keep going, please.
No, that's it. Like there's a lot of value in that, right? Both to make sure you're sitting with integrity and you're doing things the way that you want to do. I think also a lot of things physically, illnesses and chronic disease manifest because we're not giving the thing the attention that it needs, whether it's like rehab or spirituality or cooking and taking care of your health. Yeah, you just have to kind of like do the work necessary to feel good.
There's so much wisdom, bro, in that in slowing down. Like, think about it. The one thing that tends to cause us stress and anxiety and burnout and overworking is time, right? Like, we think we have to be at X in 3 months. We want to be earning X by X age. Yeah. And so we're working, grinding to get to that place. And we would reach it in a more peaceful way if we just slowed down, right? Like, you want to finish that task at work, and the only reason you're stressing is because of the deadline or because you put it off. And like, that's when you get anxious while you're doing it and start stressing yourself out. But then if the client asks you for something and you know that it's probably better to say, I'll get it back to you Wednesday, but the people pleaser in me says, fuck it, let me do Tuesday, and say, no, fuck that.
Yeah.
Say Wednesday. Yeah. If the client has a problem with Wednesday, let them respond and then find a middle ground. Yeah. Like, because the faster we try to move at something, that's when that overwork, the burnout, the stress, that's when that shit hits us,
And you also make mistakes in you trying to do things quicker and kind of like cut that corner, right? So I'm going to try to get it to you on Tuesday versus the Wednesday, and the quality of the work is going to change. And maybe because you're trying to rush through the workout, you're picking up weights with bad form, or you cut a corner, and now so it's important to kind of do things with a little bit of patience, I guess.
Yeah, and agreed, bro. Because a lot of the time, another thing I was thinking, I'm like, where did this come from? Right? Because I gained a lot of value, and I got myself out of like depression and the anxiety and all these like even like suicidal thoughts through a work ethic, right? But I've always kind of been like this as a kid, like era bien inquieto. I always needed to do something. And I was having a conversation with a friend, and they were saying that's she read this book of psychology, and they were talking about the specifics of like Latino culture. Now I haven't read it, right? But I'm just going by the reference that she kind of gave me, that there's this norm in Latino culture of, si no andas trabajando, you're like, what are you doing? Especially as a man like, right? Like my dad, I've never been without a job. I've always been like, I wanted to work when I was like 13, 14, right? Yeah. Like I started young, right? But that was just ingrained in me. Like, if you're not working, it's like,
there's some like you're tying your worth a little bit to the work ethic that we have. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, it's like, ¿qué andas haciendo? Like, you're just kind of wasting time.
Yeah.
So for me, and then she said this, and it clicked really well. And I was like, damn, like, I think that's kind of where it comes from. And I'm not trying to like we're at this age where we're unlearning things, right? That we kind of, another gem they dropped on me was from ages 0 to 18. I just learned this yesterday. From 0 to 18, you're in the learning phase. And then from 18 and on, you're in the unlearning phase. Right? And
it's true.
And that's something that I guess I'm being forced to unlearn. Because it was just even when I was depressed, I still wanted to do something. Yeah. Right? So yeah, I'm trying to turn my brain off, and it's a challenge. Like, that to me is a challenge, which is crazy, but it's work that I'm excited to kind of like work on. So
I want to tap into this Latino culture thing. Something I wrestle with a lot, still wrestle, is, so actually a big part of being a Latino is the faith, right? Like God. And I feel like back to this idea of like self-care versus like giving and taking action and serving. For a long time, I felt that the faith like tells you to give, to love, to serve, and like just keep going. And I felt that was at odds with the idea of like self-care, right? I'm like, nah, like God wants me to go to that family event and to show up and be a good uncle and to be a good son, and I gotta go help my dad. I gotta help them out with filing this retirement paper. Like, I gotta do that. They're calling me. I have to answer. Like, I have to show up. And I'm still wrestling. I'm learning how to like balance those two. And I think I was viewing like the faith and the church's take wrong, right? I don't think God really wants you to fucking be like suffering and crushing yourself and shit. Like, that's not what yes, like, are we gonna struggle? Yes. But no, bro, I think we gotta learn to like, I can be a good husband, I can be a strong brother, I can be a strong son, but I can, and I can care for myself. I can have a fucking nothing day where I just watch TV for 5 hours, where I do nothing at home, I do nothing for no one. Yeah. Like we got to do both, right? Like it's a balance.
It's a balance, and it's also being true to yourself and how you feel, right? I think a lot of like the friction in life comes from going against the way that you feel and your honest truth. One of the things that I've been kind of carrying for the last couple of weeks is just like integrity and being like honest with yourself. And honest if like you don't want to go to that event, and honest if you don't want to hang out, and honest if there's all these things that we have, all these social contracts that we feel like we do so much of what we do to please others. And there's nothing wrong with that, but if it's taking away your joy, and if it's taking away your alignment with your truth, maybe we shouldn't be doing certain things. There's this really good author by the name of Martha Beck that talks like Martha Beck and then Ryan Holiday, these two books that I've been consuming over the last 2-3 months. And it's in its core, they're all speaking about the same thing, and it's integrity. And I think integrity is really important because it really asks you to slow down, going back to the slowing down message. And it really asks you like, well, what do you want? And we have so many things that we have to unlearn from these frameworks that society has placed on us, and these things that we think that it's like A, B, and C. But like, what feels true to you? What feels true to you? And maybe at that time it did work to be with that work ethic of like go, 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 go. Yeah. But maybe that's not your truth anymore. And maybe you didn't want to go to the family party, but maybe you wanted to show for 5-10 minutes and then like head out after that. So I think like we need to like, I think in finding your path and finding like, you need to do what feels right. And then oftentimes that's like shadowed by expectations and standards and just like expectations from other people.
I'm so glad you brought this up, bro. Shout out to Alberto. Like he brought up this integrity concept, and it's been blowing my mind lately. Like I've been applying it everywhere. And I just want to take a moment to pause and describe this because integrity, I think it's this fancy word, right? That like before I didn't really get the definition of. And recently, like the way you broke it down was in being out of integrity is essentially lying to yourself, right? Like saying someone invites you out to the bar and like you kind of don't want to go, but you feel bad because like, then they're going to be like, Frankie doesn't want to kick it with me. Mm-hmm. And you know your truth in that moment is to not fucking go out that night. You don't want to go out. You're tired. You had a long week, but you go out anyways because you feel bad for the person. And that shit adds up, bro. Being out of integrity leads to burnout.
And that's what I wanted to highlight. There's so many things throughout our day that are mundane. They're super small, and that we're going against the friction of what is true to us. But they stack up. And the scary part is that oftentimes they stack up so much and they compound over time that it moves you so far out of your truth that's when people like have breakdowns and like I don't know who I am, and you don't find and it's so important to be at base level to like find what you want to do and be able to be creative. And it only comes by staying true. And it's tough. It's not easy. It's not easy when you have a bunch of people around you, when you have obligations,
people you love around you.
Yeah. And you do want to see that friend and you do want to hang out, but maybe physically, mentally, you're not prepared and you're not in the state of mind. And it might be the correct thing might be to be vulnerable and truthful and live with integrity and be like, hey, look, I really want to see you and I want to hang out. I haven't seen you in a couple months, but today's not the day. Like I don't have the bandwidth. I'm exhausted, but oftentimes we don't do that. And we do go. And then now there's a little bit of a piece of you that you didn't pay attention to. You didn't honor, and now you're not being truthful, and it just kind of like compounds and compounds and compounds.
100%. And it's crazy you're saying in regards to like a party, right? My boy, bro, that I've known for like the longest, Caesar. He's thankfully like him and his girl, they got pregnant. this is my boy, bro. I've known since I was 2. Like that's like
Nice.
my brother, bro. Right. And it's crazy. Obviously, he's having a kid, right? Grew up with him, seen him in every single phase he's ever been in, right? And I wasn't able to attend the baby shower because of the back injury. I worked that morning. I ended up somehow flaring it up. Thought I was going to be able to cope with it. And I wasn't able to attend. And I shot him the text. Obviously, was very open with him about it.
Nice.
But like to be able to like not have that, I had to still practice that integrity part of it. Because I didn't want to be like, I couldn't go. Because there's times where I don't want to open up and complain about my back.
Yeah.
Right? But I shot him the text like, hey man, I really wanted to go. I couldn't go. I had this flare up.
Yeah.
Hope you understand. Sending you guys something like beloved. But I didn't know that. Like the whole integrity, like you dropped, bro, that's a great way to put it.
Bro,
like,
I got it from him. All credit to
then
Alberto.
passing it away. Yeah, like we need to double down on that.
Yeah.
Because it's like that kind of does put a lot of things in perspective of moving with integrity. We hear that all the time.
It's a fancy word.
It is.
I'll double click on the integrity. It's in parallel to integrity and to being your truth. One of the practices that they share is not lying. So one of the examples that the author shares is that in you meeting someone new, within the statistically studied, research says that within the first 10 minutes of meeting someone, you're going to lie 3 times.
That's wild, bro.
Yeah, you're going to lie 3 times.
Why is
in
that?
the first
why
in
white lies
in the
exist?
first 10 minutes, and then I'll highlight like what we mean by lying, right? So lying is as simple as I meet Frankie for the first time and how are you doing today? And he's gonna give me I'm good.
But that's number one.
That's number one. But that's not very good.
Number 2 is named not Frankie.
But that's just like an example of being truthful when you're meeting someone. And I think that's just an example. But what I really wanted to highlight was we lie to people, and that doesn't help at all. Because now if you had lied to your buddy and been like, oh, I couldn't make it because of this. If you hadn't shared that you had an injury and that you couldn't make it because you physically weren't going to be able to be present and feel comfortable, then he might have felt a certain way, but you did the correct thing and told him the truth. And now like he has full context over it.
Yeah. It broke my heart not to be there, bro.
I'm sure.
Like, it actually did.
I'm sure.
I was going to get there late because I was working, but it broke my heart not to be there.
Yeah. And we lie to ourselves sometimes. We give ourselves the example of like attending the things like, and that's just like, we just need to do a better job of catching ourselves when we're doing it internally and then kind of like externally to people around us.
I got a good example on it. And again, I got to give you your flowers because you put me on this concept and I just been fucking vibing on it hard. I had a DJ gig a few weeks ago and I had shared the rate before cool with whatever. And then I found out I needed to like rent another speaker because it was a bigger space. I spent $100 on renting it. And it ended up being like a bitch to pack a second speaker, right? Like I've done it before, but like I kind of forgot. Like, fuck, like to lug 2 speakers, like big ass ones, like it's a lot of fucking work. You get tired like setting that shit up. And gig was dope. Like I fucking love working with this client and this team. Like it was a great time. I was exhausted after though, bro, from like carrying and moving the speaker around, like both speakers and setting up and all that shit. And I was like, damn, like, do I feel like fairly compensated for all that work that I put in? And I was like, no. And so then your boy, I love to overthink. I like to say I have a PhD in overthinking. Same. Fucking doctorates in that shit, baby. Yeah. And I'm go back and forth. I'm like, do I ask him or not? Do I ask him or not? Nah, well, if I ask him, then this is going to impact what I get paid in the future. If I ask him, I'm going to annoy him. Just back and forth and back and forth. And if it wasn't for you and you having shared this concept of integrity, I wouldn't have asked. But I told them, yo, can you add an extra 100 for the additional speaker? And what's beautiful is his response was like, say less. Like, I got you. Let me check with the team. We budgeted this, but I'm going to get you the extra 100. I got you. And sure enough, like, they got me the extra 100, right?
Yeah.
And bro, it's almost like, it's not even about like, it wasn't even about the extra $100, right? Like, I think the reason I took that action was because like, it's about being in integrity with myself, right? I felt like I wasn't fairly compensated for the work I put in, and I vocalized it, right? And yeah, bro, it's easy. I could have sat in the passenger seat and said, next time for the next gig, I'll give them this rate. Thinking about that, fuck that. There might not be a next gig.
Yeah,
if I could fucking die 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
So yeah, bro, it's just, again, thank you. Like, if it wasn't for that idea of being honest and true to yourself and not lying to yourself, I wouldn't have taken that action. It's powerful shit, dog. Powerful shit.
It is.
And not lying to yourself usually requires communicating with somebody else, right? So like you probably felt a little bit of resistance of like, oh, I'm not gonna tell them, like maybe I shouldn't, but that's, I feel like, kind of merits to do it even more.
Yeah.
Right? Because yeah, we can work on this by ourselves, but at least for me, a lot of my resistance is the confrontation part. We think it's gonna be confrontation, you know? Hence sometimes, like, if someone, hey, I want you to pull up to my birthday party. And there's times where I don't know I can go because of so-and-so. Because right then, I don't want to hear or see the, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So but you got to be honest with yourself. Like, I'm not at that spot. I'm not at that point. And that to me is
no,
the challenging
100%.
part.
And more importantly,
I think that's why sometimes we lie.
importantly, I think like one of the takeaways that like really resonates with me is the thinking of having the conversation with them. It's taking a bandwidth.
Yeah.
Because you thought about it an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours. And I think anytime that you're really sitting with something that you really want to get off your chest, you need to have the conversation because it's consuming your mind to the point that now you're not thinking about other things. It's taking away the joy of the act of you doing that DJ gig because now you're overthinking something that you shouldn't be overthinking. And I think the value comes from acknowledging whenever you need to have a conversation and being honest with yourself. Like, I need to vocalize this. Yeah. And sometimes that's with a friendship. That's with the partner, a wife. Sometimes that's at a work environment. Hey, this is no longer like working. And I know maybe it's the way that we've been doing it, or it's been the way that we've always been doing it, and maybe I haven't vocalized the way that it makes me feel. But share your truth and be honest. Maybe you were lying with yourself for a little bit about how it made you feel, and there was more discomfort than you knew, and you kind of coming to that conclusion. Share it, and it's just like releasing that
transfer of energy.
It's transfer of energy, and it's like clearing out all that space that it was taking up in your mind. And now you could use all that space to create, find peace, find joy, find additional alignment. And I think anytime, so that's something that I kind of learned, anytime that is kind of anything's consuming you, whether it's something that you want to act on, a conversation that you want to have, an experience you want to do, more likely than not, take action quicker, because in you freeing up that mental space, you're going to gain a lot of clarity.
1,000+1%. I don't know what the fuck I said, but I just wanted to say, like, you hit the nail on the head with how I was feeling, bro. Like, the gig was fucking dope. Yeah. It was a fucking sick gig. Yeah. But that first night and that morning after, like, this conversation was clouding my view of it, right? And I wasn't, like, enjoying how dope it was until I had the convo. And now I'm like, damn.
How long did it take for you to decide to have that? Like, what was that time where you felt that maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't, to when you actually had the conversation?
So right after the gig, let's call it, was, a Thursday night. I wake up Friday. That night I'm thinking about it.
Oh, it started Friday. I mean,
it started that night. I like leave the gig because I'm fucking exhausted, right?
Even before, when you knew when you had to rent the equipment, I'm sure that kind of started like.
It was a homie that said, "Yo, charge him the extra 100 for the additional speaker," and that planted the seed. And I'm like, should I? Yeah. So I started thinking about it even then, right ahead of time. Let's call it Thursday afternoon, right? Gig happens Thursday night. I'm thinking about it. I wake up Friday morning and I'm thinking about it. Slightly hungover.
My boy had a good time.
And I didn't drink a lot, but it was probably the thinking, right? The thinking wears on you.
Yeah, maybe you didn't rest well because
exactly. So I'm tired. I'm thinking about it all day Friday, and then I'm even thinking about it Saturday morning. But Saturday morning, I felt more clear-minded, and I felt more like, and I think that's a lesson in itself. Like, let a little time pass, maybe sit in the shit for a bit, and then when you have a clear mind, like, go ahead and act, right? And so then Saturday, like afternoon, I was like, bet, like, let me hit him up. Like, this is my truth. Like, I think this is what I deserve, and I'm gonna vocalize that. So let's call it a day and a half, bro. 2 days almost.
Well, the amount of space you would have had mentally had you had that talk, right? Either that night or the morning
when you were renting the equipment. Like, imagine you had sent that text that day. All the mental bandwidth that you would have like reserved from not wasting it in contemplating this conversation or not.
Now, let's say he wouldn't have had that conversation with you about integrity. Would you have waited longer to have the convo? Would you have not had it at all?
I think I would have waited longer, but even more likely, I don't think I would have done it. Straight up. I feel pretty confident, bro. I feel pretty confident in that.
The power of what one conversation can do to you, your peace and your actual pockets.
Yep.
Wow.
That is crazy.
That's why I gave you the flowers, dog.
Yeah.
Like, that shit led me to act. Like,
it just speaks on the importance of, like, you know, doing the work and kind of just sharing it with the people around you that you care about. Like, there's a lot of value in like doing the work internally, but you forget how much like these ripple effects that we have like are going to affect the people around you. And now in me sharing that like integrity line and all this like piece with you, now you picked it up and now you shared it with Edwin, and it's just like a trickle effect of this like huge ripple effect that's going to take effect, which
we won't even see.
That we won't even see, and we won't even know the impact for it. But hopefully the fucking universe will just like bring that energy back and reward.
But that kind of comes back to like the theory that I had explained to you guys a while back, which is like it's you giving him flowers is you reminding him and giving him credit of the impact that he has as an individual. Because if he's not, in a sense, let's say he's socially secluded, he's not gonna feel that, right? Mm-hmm. There's times when, at least for me, when I'm completely isolated, I forget how much of a good job I'm doing until I'm actually being reminded by somebody else. Mm-hmm. I have this theory of that I don't think it's up to us to remind ourselves that we're doing a good job. I think it's up to us to be a good person, to then attract the people around us that can consistently remind us, yo, you're killing it, bro.
I love that. You know
what I'm saying? Like, you're killing, you're really like, you're this person, don't forget it. Right? Because there's something about, and I'm not all for like being hooked on the drug of external validation, because it can be a drug. But obviously, if you have this self-identity within yourself, hearing that who you are outside of who you are, I mean, outside of your own beliefs, really lasts a lot longer.
Yeah, bet.
You know what I'm saying? Now you're carrying this like, yo, like,
yeah, you're building a community.
I'm building community. Mm-hmm. I watered that relationship. Like, I feel good. Like, my boy succeeded off a convo that I probably forgot I even had with him. Yeah. What? Like, there's times where you've dropped gems on me that I'm sure you forgot. Yeah. There's times where he's dropped gems on me that I'm sure he's forgotten. Yeah. But that's the whole point, is like giving you guys like the credit for who you are.
I'm gonna go 2 steps back just before I forget the thought. But I think in highlighting the importance of kind of like having the conversation to eliminate the kind of the bandwidth that's kind of taken up in your space. I've been really sitting with this idea of, I think growing up, there was a lot of conversation around the importance of like time management. Mm-hmm. And like, you got to manage your time. And then I started thinking about like, yeah, it's time management, but we have a certain amount of batteries of like strong output that we have in a day. So maybe it's like energy management. Maybe we need to manage our energy, because you showing up 100%, like, it's only finite. Like, you only have a certain amount that you could show up 100% in a day. But now I'm like really, really leaning with this, like, it's attention management. And attention is like, what is taking up your attention? And like, address what's taking up your attention, and like alleviate anything that's taking your attention. Like, I guess in a bad way, like maybe that you don't want to be thinking of, eliminate that so you could start like applying your attention where you do want to. Because sometimes subconsciously your attention is being dragged in different locations. So
That's such a good reflection prompt. What's absorbing my attention? Like to just ask that, right? Like what's absorbing too much of it, right? Because we want to have our attention on shit, but what's absorbing my attention? I'm really fucking with this concept of integrity, and like it just feels like really nice. I almost want to like make today's focus that, and I want to like start wrapping us up maybe in the next few minutes by asking this question: where do we want more integrity in our life? What area of our life do we want to be more? I think the way to say it, like in a what do we call it? In a verb way, forgive my language there, is integrous. I think it's something like that. You get what I'm saying? What part of our life do we want more integrity in? I don't have an answer yet either, but I think it's a good prompt for us. And for the homies listening, everyone listening out there. Like, where do I want more integrity? I got to sit on it for a sec.
You want to?
I don't like, but I just... all areas of our life. Like, honestly, like with family, with friends, in your relationships at work, like just be honest and do your truth, right? Maybe there's a specific area that I want to apply a little bit more focus, and that's like not resonating now, but yeah.
I think at least for me, in like the whole applying the integrity, I think it's a lot of it. Specifically, if I were to put that in a specific position, I would say with my parents. I would say with my parents. There's times where I know I can be with them more. Like my mom, mijo, ¿por qué no has venido? ¿Por qué no te he visto? Tengo como 3 semanas sin verte.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, I've been kind of, and it's like, that's all bullshit.
Yeah.
Like it really is all bullshit.
Yeah.
Like I think if I were to specifically tailor that integrity part, it's not putting myself in a position to say no to other things so I can spend more time with my parents, so I can spend more time with them. So if I were to play, it's be specific with that, because I do want to hang out with my mom. Like I really do. But there's times where I am overbooked too. Not right now, but there's times where I am overbooked and I'm overscheduled because I'm saying yes to so many things that are taking me away from that.
Yeah.
So I think working on that to then trickle down to the relationship with my parents.
I feel it. I was going to say more integrity like within my family life, but I don't want to also double that one up. I'm going to share another one that came to mind that I want to like publicly declare here so y'all can hold me accountable. It's more integrity in my work. I work in sales and I have some amazing colleagues that I work with. And sometimes, like, you know, they share perspectives on how how something should be approached, priced, whatever. And I like to also say I'm a recovering people pleaser. I don't like hurting people's feelings. Working on, yes, being mindful of feelings, but not caring that much. And I'm realizing, like, bro, I know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, I like, here's how I think it should be done. Thank you for sharing your opinion on this. My role is to make the call here, and this is what we're gonna go with. And that's integrity right there, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where I want to focus more, bro. Like, I just want to, like, when I think something should be done a certain way, let it be known, be respectful and mindful of others' opinions, but I got to trust myself and I got to make the call. So
I love that.
That's such a great answer. And it's, I think this is probably a good point to kind of wrap it up, I think the topics we have of integrity, like carrying that throughout the week would be more than amazing to work on. Cause I mean, I love the fact that you guys had that convo, and it's like to be able to be enlightened by that and then just kind of carry that and kind of move forward is something I'm definitely going to want to work on. So
I think the way to really summarize it today, because we started with your, with you sharing on kind of your burnout and your back injury.
Yeah.
To tie that together with integrity is like being out of integrity can lead to burnout. Right. So that's kind of the key takeaway. And I think, and
put the bow on it.
Let's just, this week, let's just focus on like, hey, how can I be more honest? How can I speak my truth? How can I live more in integrity? How about we try that this week?
I love that. Yeah,
run it.
Final punto estamos bien.
Let's go.
Estamos bien?
Estamos bien, baby. Let's go.
All right, boys. Take on the week.
All right. Let's go.